My name is Dr. Salahuddin, working as Associate Professor in Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology, Pharmacy Institute, Greater Noida. Today, I will discuss the anti-inflammatory agents part 2. In the previous lecture, I have already discussed some important category of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So, I will tell you some important points related with the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Then I will come to the medicinal chemistry part of the remaining the category of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. As we know, this non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs that are used to relieve the pain, that are used to reduce the inflammations, and it is that is used also that and bring down the high temperature. This NSAID are used to treat the wide range of the condition, that is also used in headache, painful periods, toothache, sprains and strains infections such as common cold or the flu inflammations of the joints, that is arthritis. So, in the previous lectures that I have already discussed about the salicylates, the chemistry part of the salicylate, the anthranylic acid derivatives and the aryl acetic acid derivatives. In this particular lecture, I will discuss about the propionic acid derivatives, OXICAM derivatives, PYRROLO-PYRROLE derivatives, INDOLE derivatives and PYRAZOLONE derivatives. So, let us start, that is the aryl propionic acid derivative. So, in the aryl propionic acid derivative, the first well known example in this category that is ibuprofen, and this ibuprofen made its appearance in 1969 as a widely used aspirin like anti-arthritic and anti-dysmenorrheal drug. So, this propionic acid derivatives and this propionic acid derivatives gives a significant advantage over the aspirin. So, what are the advantage of the aspirin and indomethacin? They affect they are better tolerated aryl propionic acid. So, in this aryl propionic acid, the ibuprofen is well tolerated analgesic with moderate anti-inflammatory activity. That means, it has good analgesic and anti-inflammatory activity. The specific feature of this ibuprofen is what? It is used as a racemic mixture. If we are using in the racemic mixture, so both the enantiomer have the different activity. Either the R enantiomer or the S enantiomer, both may be active, one active, one inactive. Here the S enantiomer is active, but the R enantiomer is inactive. Basically, this there is a metabolic conversion of the R enantiomer to the active S enantiomer of the ibuprofen. Next is the flurbiprofen. In this ibuprofen, there is a one isopropyl group and CH3 COOH. So, aryl propionic acid group attached here and the aryl group propionic, and there is a one isopropyl group. Next, here propionic acid and this biphenyl ring with fluoro substitution, and it is used in S configuration because the S configuration is more active than the R configuration. So, this fluorbiprofen have two aryl ring, as we know that this phenyl ring or the phenyl ring is the hydrophobic in nature. So, the second hydrophobic substituents in the form of phenyl in place of isobutyl of ibuprofen, then it has a fluoro substituents in the phenyl ring. So, a variation in the linear biaryl arrangement attached to the second hydrophobic group through a angular carbonyl or ether linkage at position 3 or 4 of the phenyl ring. The drugs comes here that the name indicates ketoprofen and the phenoprofen. At here it is ketoprofen, the substitution here with the R group, that COC6H5 and OC6H5, that is the ketoprofen and phenoprofen. Another example of this aryl propionic acid is the naproxen and the nebumetone. Naproxen S isomer, it represents the clinically useful drugs of the former approach, that is the they are structurally related to the naproxen and in having a 6-methoxy naphthyl system, 6-methoxy naphthyl system, but with a keto function is, that is the nebumetone. There is a no keto function, here is there is a keto function in the nebumetone. Next, OXICAM derivative. In the OXICAM derivative, there is a specific thing in the OXICAM derivative, that the heterocyclic ring present in the structure of this OXICAM. This is what basically, this is the thiazine nucleus and benzene nucleus. So, benzothiazine nucleus, and there is a one SO2 group attached here. So, the name indicate N-aryl carboxamide. What is N-aryl carboxamide? Of 4 hydroxy 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 hydroxy 1, 2 benzothiazine 1, 1 oxide are enolic acidic agents. And the example include PYRROXICAM. PYRROXICAM is a prototype and is relatively new anti-inflammatory, analgesic and antipyretic agents. So, here it is a longer acting potent non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs with anti-inflammatory potency similar to indomethacin, which are very good analgesic antipyretic action. The mechanism of action includes the reversible inhibitor of cyclooxygenase lowers the production of prostaglandin concentration in the synovial fluids and inhibit platelet aggregation. Tinoxicam in the OXICAM derivative. Here what happens, this phenyl ring which was fused in the pyroxicam, in the tinoxicam with this phenyl ring is substituted with thiazine. This is the thiazine nucleus. So, it includes thiazine derived monocarboxylic acid amide. Tinoxicam is also a good anti-inflammatory agent with analgesic and antipyretic properties. It is used in the osteoarthritis and control acute pain. The anti-inflammatory effects of this tinoxicam results in inhibition of the enzyme, that it inhibits the cyclooxygenase enzyme with the subsequent peripheral inhibition of the prostaglandin synthesis. Next is meloxicam, again benzothiazine derivatives. It is the structurally related of this structurally related with the pyroxicam, and here what happens, the pyridine ring is replaced with thiazole ring, basically the methyl substituted thiazole ring, and the rest is same as in case of pyroxicam. So, again it will retain its anti-inflammatory analgesic property and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory properties and selective inhibitor of COX-2, that is used particularly for the management of rheumatoid arthritis. It has a role as a NSAID anti-rheumatic cyclooxygenase 2 inhibitor as an analgesic. Next category, PYRROLO-PYRROLE derivatives, that is ketorolac. Ketorolac, the example that already we know that the ketorolac is known for its very good analgesic properties, and this is also used in R plus and S minus, both the enantiomer R plus and S minus, the enantiomer that we are using, while only the S enantiomer is COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitor, but the R dextrorotatory, the R enantiomer exhibits potent analgesic property. This ketorolac, the mechanism of action, that it inhibits the prostaglandin by competitive blocking of the enzyme, that is the cyclooxygenase. So, it is a non-selective cyclooxygenase inhibitor, because it will it inhibits the COX-1 as well as the COX-2. So, that is why it is a non-selective COX inhibitor, and it is considered as first generation non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and it is used to manage post operative pain spinal on the soft tissues, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, spondylitis, menstrual disorder, headache and some other causes. Next is indole derivatives. As the name indole derivatives, indole is what? Indole is a benz fused heterocyclic compound where the one benzene ring is fused with the pyrrole nucleus. This is indole and one acetic acid CH2COH, indole acetic acid. And the well known example of this indole acetic acid derivative, that is the indomethacin. It is a potent anti-inflammatory drugs with antipyretic action. This indomethacin is highly potent inhibitor of the prostaglandin synthesis and suppress neutrophil motility. Here I am talking about the chemistry part of this indole derivatives. There is a one NH is substituted with para-of-chlorophenyl carbonyl. There is a one methoxy group at the 6th position and the one methyl group present at the 2nd position of this indole nucleus. The toxicitosis, it uncouples the oxidative phosphorylation like aspirin, well absorbed, 90% of the plasma protein partly metabolized to liver, to inactive products and excrete by kidney. Indomethacin have high incidence of this GI and CNS side effects. It includes GI bleeding, can cause diarrhea, headache, basically the frontal headache and the mental confusion. So, due to this GI and the CNS side effects, this indomethacin, it is contraindicated in machinery operators, drivers, psychiatric patients, epileptic patient, kidney patient, pregnant women and in children. Next category is pyrazolone derivatives. This pyrazolone, basically this pyrazolinones and pyrazolidine diones and the OXICAM derivatives are the major class covered in this category. So, broadly that we can say it is a pyrazolone. It includes pyrazolinone, pyrazolidine dione and the OXICAM derivatives. And the well known example of this pyrazolone derivatives, that it includes phenazone and amidopyrin. Here at the substitution at this position, if R equals to H and dimethyl amino group, that it will give this phenazone and amidopyrin derivatives, and this was discovered in late 19th century as antipyretics and analgesics as well as anti-inflammatory drugs. Another improvement of this pyrazolone derivatives, that phenylbutazone and oxyphenbutazone. This phenylbutazone is also a derivative of pyrazolene 3,5 dione system. Pyrazolene 3,5 dione system. At 4th position there is a substitution, that means it is butyl group. So, phenylbutazone, it includes that the effective anti-inflammatory agents, but serious toxicity such as agranulocytis limits the long term therapy. The structure of this pyrazolone derivatives, that the 2 phenyl group, first, second. The 2 phenyl groups provides the lipophilicity, provides the lipophilic characteristics for protein binding and the tissue distribution. It is a prostaglandin synthesis inhibitor, that means it will blocks the action of cyclooxygenase. Para-hydroxy analog of phenylbutazone. Para-hydroxy analog means this one phenyl group is substituted with if R equals to H and R equals to H, para hydroxy analog of phenylbutazone, that is oxyphenbutazone. This oxyphenbutazone have the same spectrum of activity as that of this phenylbutazone. It binds with the what? Binds with the receptor cyclooxygenase and inactivates the prostaglandin synthase as well as the prostaglandin synthase through hydrogen peroxide mediated deactivation. So, it will reduce the level of prostaglandins and finally, reduces the inflammations at the surrounding tissues. It is a non-narcotic analgesics, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, anti-rheumatic properties and the peripheral nervous system drugs, anti-inflammatory properties, antipyretic properties, analgesic activity. Next is oxyphenbutazone, blocking the synthesis of prostaglandin by inhibiting cyclooxygenase, which converts arachidonic acid to cyclic endoperoxides precursor of prostaglandins. So, finally, this oxyphenbutazone is oxyphenbutazone is used to lowers the level of the prostaglandins by blocking the action of cyclooxygenase. Now, this para-aminophenol derivatives, the well known example, that is the phenacetin, was introduced into the therapy in 1887, but due to the hemolytic action, hemolytic anemia and the methemoglobinemia, it causes these two. So, this in this para-aminophenol derivatives, as we know, this paracetamol first prepared in 1878. In 1878 was used in the medicine in 1893. It was prepared in 1878, but it is used as medicine in 1893. And after using this medicine, it got the popularity from 1949 to till date, that we are using as a antipyrete, the very good antipyretic agents, that is the paracetamol. This in this para-aminophenol derivatives, that is the phenacetin. Phenacetin is a member of the class of acetamide, because the structure here, it is 4-ethoxyphenyl acetamide. This is the structure of acetamide, and at fourth position, that is the ethoxyphenyl. So, here this is the member, that is the phenacetin is a member of the class of acetamide, that is the acetamide in which one of the hydrogen attached to the nitrogen substituted by 4-ethoxyphenyl group. Non-narcotic analgesics and peripheral nervous system drugs. Acetaminophen. Acetaminophen is a para-aminophenol derivatives. Para-aminophenol derivatives with analgesic and antipyretic activities. It is a widely used non-prescription analgesics and antipyretic medication for mild to moderate pain and fever. Acetaminophen, that harmless at low doses, but has direct hepatotoxic potential. When takes an overdose, cause acute liver injury and death from acute liver failure. This acetaminophen, there are some important side effects, and it is used in arthritis also, and the important side effects includes hypersensitivity reactions, serious skin reaction, the kidney damage, anemia and reduced number of platelets in the blood. These are the some references